coast to coast, it's your hosts, the Lombardi Leap and Mersey FB. This is Beyond the Frozen Tundra.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, the Lombardi Leap, here with Mercy FB. And we are talking Packers football specifically. One of the things that I've kind of wanted to do since I put together a massive list of scouted games by the Packers, courtesy of Easton Butler, who, if you're not following him on X, I do recommend it because his prospect visit tracker is amazing.
It's gotta be coming live soon too, right, for this year?
Yeah, well, yeah, he already has some stuff. I mean, he has the prospect visit tracker up. Basically, he has a bunch of players that we talked to at
Oh,
the Gridiron
okay, yeah,
Showcase,
yeah.
maybe the Hula Bowl, like East West Shrine Bowl, that kind of a thing. I kind of went a step further and decided to take a look at and see, okay, how many scouts did the Packers have people at? And from there, this episode is kind of focused on the game, I should say, the players that the Packers had scouts at 3 to 4 games. Because I think that's kind of significant, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that is pretty significant in terms of where they've decided to spend their energy. Watching players, which players they decide to are it gives a good indication of where their board is and what players they're doing their due diligence on.
And it can mean one of two things too. Like it could mean okay, they wanted to get some extra looks at certain players versus just having like a scout like one game. I mean, they primarily had scouts at Penn State, no surprise there, Clemson, Texas A&M, and obviously like being that the Packers are in Green Bay, Wisconsin, they are going to be at a couple Wisconsin games to say the least here. I specifically took a look at the offensive line, linebacker, cornerback, couple defensive linemen too here, just because that's kind of the needs focused. And what was kind of interesting too was just kind of where these colleges, like what prominent players they had. And I use that in quotes here because obviously there's guys day 3, day 2, and we're not picking round 1, so I didn't have to really worry about those guys at all. And a lot of these guys I kind of have mixed feelings about, and I know you do too. But obviously, like one of the things you and I have kind of hashed around is the Packers need French guys.
That is the biggest need.
Yeah. I know a lot of people want to talk about offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. I'm not as worried about our offensive line here moving forward. I'm most worried about the defensive tackle room. And they spent a lot of time looking at DeMonte Capehart out of Clemson. I mean, 4 games there. How do you feel about him?
I would not love the pick. That's my personal opinion though. I think like he has some good and there's some bad. Hasn't really shown. Well, he's been at Clemson for a while. He's now like a 5th-year senior, so he's a little bit on the older side. Has a limited pass rush plan, and they've always kind of rotated him through. Like he has never played consistently. He's always been in a rotation. He's never been the guy at Clemson.
And I think some of that too is like you said, he has that limited pass rush plan. So you're only really putting him in there on like heavy rundowns or if you need a guy who can anchor consistently. And so yeah, he pairs well next to Devontae Wyatt, but I do agree with you. I just feel like there are better guys who can come in earlier and do it more consistently, as well as have a higher pass rush ceiling
exactly.
too as well. So, I mean, yeah, you and I are both pretty on point here. The next 2 guys are from Wisconsin. Hard to believe here.
I know nothing about these guys, so I'll let you take it away.
I know a little bit, just watching them here and there. I mean, both of them are very much going to be more along the lines of run defenders. Packers clearly have a need for that nose tackle-esque player. Corey Walker and Lance Mason, both very similar styles, both very much late day 3 guys. I mean, I think ceiling is round 6, round 7 there, maybe even UDFA at this point. They both are very physical versus the run, but athletically, not the greatest, not too much of a burst here. Like, very kind of nose tackle is what they are going to be the entire time, and that's about it.
Really? So not
Yeah.
much like versatility there.
Not much more.
Okay.
No. No. Like, maybe you can get him, maybe, like, a little bit of a pass rush upside, but I'd say predominantly for the most part, it's run defender. This is goal line. This is they're going for it on 4th and 1. I need to just stick a dude in there who is not going to move. And, like, these guys, they do have good leverage. Because they have good leverage, they do have the ability, I think, to stick on a roster, but it's gonna be just strictly run defense type scenarios there. I think this is interesting here. When it comes to players they looked at, like, obviously there wasn't much on the defensive tackle side of things, but I think the Packers did spend some time at linebacker here. Which we talked about Quay Walker and what's going to happen with him, and you and I are both under the impression that Quay is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty fair to say. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 linebackers here that are, again, probably late day 2, day 3 kind of players. Wade Woodez out of Clemson. There's Turin York out of Texas A&M. Aiden Fisher out of Indiana. I like him. I mean, who, like, out of this list, who's your kind of
Okay,
favorite
so
guy?
he's not my favorite, but he's where I'll start. I'll go top down. Wade Woodaz, again, like outside of Peter Woods and Avion Terrell and TJ Parker to an extent, I do not want to draft a Clemson player this draft defensively because they just don't wow me. Like,
Really?
Wade Woodaz looks
Okay.
lost in some coverage reps, and he's just not an explosive athlete. Torian York would probably be my
Kind of a
favorite.
bummer too, because he's like 6.
The issue with Torian York is that he
Yeah, I was
is
gonna-
like historically small, historic outlier for Torian York.
Really?
He measured in
Oh my goodness.
at like 5'10", I believe, is what it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. 5'10". I mean, at least he's 230.
But part of the issue with the 5'10" is that he has shorter arms.
Yeah. Oh man.
Mhm.
That's a bummer.
Dude, he flies on tape.
I think he runs like what, a 4.5? Pretty sure.
He's quick,
Yeah, he's gonna get engulfed.
and yeah, that's
man.
that's the issue. Okay, yeah, Torian York, 5'10" and 3/8, 232, 9.5-inch hand size, 30.25-inch arms. So, and those measurements are first percentile, 20th percentile, 43rd percentile, and second percentile, respectively. And yeah, so
Ouch.
in terms of like how the percentiles work, the lower the worse it is, the higher the better it is. And he is in like the bottom. He is the most historic outlier I can think of.
Here, I will say this. Here's where I think why I'll just say this. Why the Packers, I think, would draft him would strictly be for special teams.
And I think he played a year with
Like, the
Cooper,
IQ
so they're kind of like a bit of a relationship there.
Because I know, I mean, obviously, like, Scooby Williams was at Texas A&M too, but he transferred in from
Okay.
Florida. He's at Florida 21 to 2023. Like, Scooby's a little bit bigger. I mean, he's 6'2", or I should say around 6'2", 230. But I mean, it's kind of the inverse, a little bit of an inverse of
Yeah.
York. He's not as explosive, and he's going to be like, I mean, coverage liability. I mean, this is basically budget Quay in the 6th or 7th if you really wanted to get him there. He does play downhill too, so that's nice for Scooby. I also just like saying his name.
I like saying it too.
Because it's fun. I mean, if I like Wade Woodez, like you said, I mean, a larger dude, 6'4", 6'3", but he looks lost. A lot of these guys just seem like project special teamers. I mean, I don't know how you feel about Aiden Fisher as much. I like Aiden Fisher. I like the fact that Aiden Fisher is a physical. I like the way he hits people.
He's probably my favorite linebacker, or like second favorite linebacker after the group, or of the group behind Torian. But because Torian is just off the Packers board for physicality reasons, then Aiden's the most likely to get drafted by us out of this group.
And I also don't fault the Packers for scouting 3 Indiana games. Let's be real. I mean, they did win it all, and like what they did there is incredible. Like I would not hate Aiden Fisher as kind of a Isaiah McDuffie replacement because I think he has a higher upside than Isaiah McDuffie. I mean, the hips are a little bit concerning, and that kind of does affect his coverage ceiling. But I mean, the dude can tackle, and when he hits people, I can feel it through the screen, man. When I'm watching it, it hurts.
That is true. He popped in the playoffs.
Yeah. And some of it too, like, again, I don't. Oh, it's so tough. Like hips are one of those things where I think some of it can be taught and masked and fixed too. Just getting into a pro room, but so much of it is just natural ability. I think with linebacker, you have a little bit more flexibility there, which is ironic because I'm saying that with stiff hips. Whereas with corner, it's a bit different. Corner, I think if you don't really have if you have stiff hips in college, the likelihood of that getting fixed on an NFL level is pretty slim,
Mhm.
next to none. Like that is just the reality of it. And speaking of quarterbacks, they did look at a couple guys here. Jaden Lucas, I'm in a kind of agreement with you, like especially when it comes to like Jaden Lucas as a cornerback. This dude
You
has an
think he
injury
sticks at
history.
corner?
I don't.
Same. I think
I
he's a
really
safety.
don't. I think if he, yeah, I think if he wants to make it in the NFL on the next level, he should transition to safety.
Or just become a gunner. That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, basically he could be Bo Melton, but as an
Mhm.
actual cornerback. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like Jaden Lucas at all. And then you already know, you already know how I feel about Will Lee.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of started to feel the same way about with you about Lee.
I just don't understand how a guy can play as much football he does and still look as uncomfortable as he does.
I think he's one of the players who benefited from a really good defensive line that A&M had this year. So
yes, absolutely. And like, this isn't to say there isn't stuff I don't like about him because he does have some of the stuff that I harp on. Like, I do like his transition, but it just seems like if he has to process, you know what? Here's what it reminds me of. Here's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of watching Nate Hobbs in zone this year. Like, but that's all the time, unfortunately. And it just wasn't there. And I don't know why his ability to process wasn't there. I just don't know if that's who he is as a person. Like he looked like he can because he does have the smooth hips. He does have some recovery speed there. When he's in man, he can do that. But I don't know if it's either overthinking or just not understanding assignments in zone. And like if I even saw like a glimmer of him being able to process quicker, I'd be a little bit higher on him. But I wouldn't even take him in the 6th just because I'm like, what am I going to do with him if it's going to take him 10 years to process where he's supposed to be in zone? And given how much zone the NFL plays, I don't know what you do there. I would be sorely disappointed if the Packers took Will Lee. I do like Ricardo Hallman a little bit more than probably most people. I know that I don't think he got invited to the combine. I know that the Packers did. I can't remember. I think he was the one that went back.
Yeah, he went back last year
confusing
and
with
now
someone
is draft eligible. Didn't really improve his
Yeah,
stock as much as I would have liked him to.
No, but Wisconsin was also a dumpster
True.
fire this year. I think this is one of I kind of compare Wisconsin to Texas a little bit, and what I mean by that is it's just the coaching is just bad. Like it really is just bad. And Wisconsin's ability to develop cornerbacks is not good. I trust Wisconsin's ability to develop linemen or like a running back. Anything outside of that just is not going to happen. The reason is I do like Ricardo Hallman is I just like the way he plays. Like he is a scrappy player. He kind of he reminds me of a little bit bigger D'Angelo Pons. I know a lot of people like D'Angelo Pons for a lot of reasons. I don't just because he's small. I don't think that's going to translate into the NFL level. I think I like Ricardo Hallman a little bit more. This isn't to say that Ricardo Hallman's on the same level as D'Angelo Pons, just kind of given everything that went down. I'm not saying that at all whatsoever. I'm just saying physically, I like Ricardo Hallman better, and I like the upside there. I totally would love to see him as a UDFA on the team. I think he definitely does bring a mentality that other guys in that room just don't seem to have. Like he's a guy who really does play with a chip on his shoulder, but he plays with a proper chip on his shoulder. Not like Keyshawn Nixon, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Took me a minute to figure out what you were talking about because I was like, oh God, Keyshawn Nixon.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah.
Like I like Keyshawn Nixon's attitude. I don't like it. I like Ricardo Hallman's attitude because he's better than what
Mhm.
people give him credit for, and that's why. Whereas Keyshawn, and like he's aware of it, he knows where he's at, and that's why I respect Ricardo Hallman here.
I think he's got like good teams value as well.
Yeah, and like he's
Mhm.
willing to do that.
Little like Shamar Bartholomew-esque, just smaller, I think.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah,
Mhm.
he's stocky though. Like Ricardo Hallman he's a stocky looking dude, and for a guy who can move that way, that's kind of bum. I'm looking forward to his pro day, to say the least. And he's aggressive. Like I know that's a con. Some people are like, but I like the aggressiveness there. It's not for everyone. Like one of the areas where I think the Packers do spend most of their time looking at players as well as they should be looking at specifically a center here and a swing tackle, because like you and I both believe that a big majority of the offensive line is
Yes.
set. What isn't set is the center position. Also, we don't have a swing tackle. A couple of these guys we've talked about before. I think you talked about Blake Miller a little bit to me off the pod.
I did,
once in a while.
but I'm starting to think he's going to be gone before we get the chance to pick.
You think
Dude, I think he
you
goes
think
late
so?
first. I think the league is really high on him.
Which I could see that too, just kind of given how the league values OT talent. Like, and he did start the SEC. Man, what more do you need to know there? And if he's going that early too, like even if he's there in the second, like would
Probably
the
not.
Packers take him when you have
You have
such
bigger
glaring
needs.
other needs?
And
now?
it's because he's a tackle only, and he was the left tackle, I think,
It's
right?
true.
He was their left tackle. So yeah, he was their
Yes,
left
yeah.
tackle,
Mhm.
which is like, okay, you're bringing in insurance for Morgan, that's fine, but
If you need insurance for Morgan, Brian Gutekunst, and I've said this before, Brian Gutekunst should have gotten.
I mean, just like injury insurance. Like if he goes down, you have a player who can step in and play right away. But
true. Yeah. Spend that in the second, like when you have starting needs at other positions, would be insane.
mhm.
You know, I would rather draft the next guy out of Clemson, Tristan Lay.
Yeah, because I think he can play either spot, but he still needs development.
Yeah, he does need development. I mean, but there's a lot of athletic upside there. The Packers did interview him at the Shrine Bowl. I think that if they're going to draft a swing tackle, Tristan Lay is the guy who can be the
Okay.
swing tackle. Like, I think he screams, "Hey, yeah, this is what's his name from a couple years ago who ended up going to the Panthers."
How many years ago?
No, I can't think of his name. He's the left
Ike
tackle for the
Ekwonu?
Panthers. No, after Ike Ekwonu got hurt.
Yosh? Yeah.
Yes, Yosh Nyman. Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of it. I was gonna say like Yoshi. I was like, why am I thinking of Super Mario right now? Oh, that's why. Yosh Nyman. Yes, yeah. This is very much a Yosh Nyman type scenario with Tristan Lay. Has some upside there. I think he's kind of projected to go where I expect them to pick a swing tackle, which is round 5, around round 6. I think if he goes round 4, something amazing happened at the
Mhm.
combine, which I don't expect to happen at all. So I would not be shocked if Tristan Lay is the Packers' 5th round pick. Like to me, it really fits what the Packers would do. And I think also 4th round they're going center. Which, speaking of a center, this is a guy who I like.
I'm
Trey
starting
Zune.
to think like a lot of the time they spent at A&M was looking at Zune specifically because he's the type of offensive lineman they draft where he can play at more than one position.
This to me would be like Elton Jenkins,
Yes,
and he's a large
Mhm.
man.
but unfortunately shorter arms.
He's still within the window though.
Okay.
He has almost 33-inch arms, which, if I recall correctly, he's not. If he's below, Packers never draft anything below 32 inches arm length wise.
I thought he was below that.
And
Or wait, is he sub 33?
I
That's
don't-
where I
he's
got
32
confused.
and 7/8.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Allegedly. That is yet to be
32 and
verified.
7/8.
Or was it
yes.
verified at the Senior Bowl?
It was verified at the
All of
Senior
these
Bowl.
things start to blend together in my mind. It's a lot to
I
keep track of.
know. They do blend it. Yeah. Maybe they can, like, if they want to give them an extra, like, quarter of an inch, just kind of get out the finger
True.
stretchers. you can get an 1/8 of an inch.
Hold a couple of
Doing
weights
that,
out in your arms
stretch
for a little bit.
Well, exactly.
Mhm.
Get them on the stretcher. We're at 5'10" though. 5'10", 40. So there's some nice stuff there. Like I think he's a smart guy. If they want to move him inside too, specifically at center, he's 6'6", 6'7". You kind of worry about the height. I know sometimes they like their centers to be a little stockier, but he does have that ability to play all over the line. I think Elton Jenkins is how tall? 6'6", 6'5"?
Yeah.
6'5". Yeah, Elton Jenkins was 6'5", around 315. Trey Zunes around 6'6", around that weight too, of around being around 315, 319. So I kind of I like this. I do think that like what you said here when it comes to Trey Zune, they probably spent a lot of time at Texas A&M looking at him because we need a center, man. Like
It's
we
bad.
we desperately need it. Is really, really bad here. Another kind of swing tackle type guy, Drew Shelton out of Penn State. We've talked about him before. He's probably gonna be a guard. He's only 306 pounds, though. I would be shocked if this is the pick. I've talked about Riley Mahalman on other episodes. If they don't go Tristan Lay, I think Riley Mahalman's the other guy as well. Like I think he's your other swing tackle type player that the Packers could take for sure. I mean, he's 6'8", again, 315 pounds, kind of a Travis Glover-esque type frame to where if the Packers need him to, like let's say he's not quick enough to be that tackle, they can just move him inside to guard and I think he'll definitely be comfortable there too as well. Wisconsin's usually pretty solid at pumping out the really good linemen. And again, the Packers did coach him at the Shrine Bowl too. That was kind of neat. Former Packer, because Sean McManion is
the Eagles OC,
now. Yeah, Sean Mannion. Yeah,
we talked
OC
about
now.
Was it Shelton we talked about before?
We did, yeah.
And Mahlman too. Actually, we talked about both these guys.
Mahlman was kind of like my sleeper player to keep an eye on. And speaking of sleeper players, Matt Glublin is kind of like a Trey Zune type player too, as well. Played multiple positions. Played center. Came into Michigan State from Wake Forest, I believe, and team captain right away. Academic honors. Like can play all over. I think he's going to be a center. He's going to be 100% a center. Like that's my opinion. The IQ is there, the ability to process. Michigan State was not a good football team this past year at all whatsoever. Like they just weren't a good football team. Why on earth the Packers are scouting 3 games? It's literally there's only 2 players, and the other one we'll get to a little bit here. This is the only other guy. There's nobody else on that roster I looked that was worth anything this year.
Well, they have the tight end
for the draft. Well, that's why I said 1 or 2 players, and I said we'll get to him later. I do like him though.
Wait,
I do like him.
Don't they have a tackle
as well? I think Matt Glublin is high on the Packers board. I don't think he declared. I think he transferred. We talked about Pat Coogan on a different episode. I think you talked a little bit about him on what you didn't like, and that was kind of his ability to get to the second level.
Yeah.
Right? Like the athleticism is limited.
It's limited, but I'd still like take a chance on him.
How'd you feel about his pass protection?
Pretty strong, but then again, when you look at him in the national championship game, Ahmad Moten, Rechthaus, Bain, and Messidor were getting a lot off of inside stunts. Not saying the inside stunts necessarily fall on him, but he can help the guard when necessary. So
true. Yeah, that's a good point. The last center is Nick Dawkins out of Penn State. Again, another guy. One of the biggest things when it comes to a center, the Packers seem to pick very good guys in round 4 and round 5. Strong anchor, good football IQ. Again, this guy's a leader. Kind of some limited athletic upside. It's going to limit in here. To kind of get into something though a little bit more kind of out of left field. The question of the day is do the Packers draft a running back? It's tough, because there are some nice guys like late into day 2 and day 3.
That is very interesting. I would say there are a lot of guys late in draft. Emmanuel Wilson's gone. You wonder how good they feel in Damian Martinez, but that wouldn't stop
Chris Brooks is a free agent, and
Jacobs is getting
older.
older.
You don't know if Lloyd is ever gonna.
Yeah, I think they take one.
And they looked at a couple guys. I actually don't mind Adam Randall out of Clemson.
Powerful
runner. Frame,
powerful runner.
Kind of 6'2", 235. Definitely a big dude.
And he's a transitioned running back. Or transition from wide receiver to running back. So he has a natural pass catching ability.
I wouldn't hate this as if they got him in like the 6th or even round 7. They took him. I think that would be that'd be a solid pickup. The Penn State running backs are kind of interesting. I mean, obviously there's Nicholas Singleton and
Katron Allen.
I
really like Katron Allen.
Yeah, who'd you like? Which one did you like more?
His teammate. I can't remember what his teammates nicknamed him. I think it's like Fat Man, but that seems demeaning.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, they call him Fat Man.
Can be, can't be. That's funny. Yeah, I like Katron Allen too. Like a lot more than I do. Like him a lot more than
Singleton
Singleton.
tore something.
my thing
too,
is with
by the way, like he hurt himself during the
Oh.
Senior Bowl, so he can't test. So
Oh yeah, so they're not gonna draft him. Like I think he was what, like a late day 2 kind of guy. Now he probably
probably,
falls
yeah.
into day
Mhm.
3, kind of given the injury. I mean, depending on the injury, if they I'll be interested to see if they interview him because he does have some of that home run speed, that you have been kind of missing. But I do like Katron Allen more. And then you were kind of big on Roman Hemby, right?
Yeah, yes, I was big on him over Kalen Black.
What'd you like
Just
about Roman
the
Hemby?
determined runner, similar to Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he has the speed, like the high end speed, but he can still run away from you type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a little older
I mean,
too.
6 foot 210 too.
She can't remember.
He is 23.
Okay.
He is 23. Yeah. So again, like, wouldn't hate it. The experience is there. The question is,
He's also
that,
6
like,
foot 210.
what's
So
the
there is
tread?
that.
It's like what? It's like how much tread's
Mhm.
left on the tires, kind of a thing. But you're going day 3, and could he be? I wouldn't even hate it if he could be like a decent punt returner.
Yeah.
I always thought it'd be interesting to use a running back there because I liked it when they used Josh Jacobs. I just didn't like it when he
That
fumbled.
is true.
The one time he did it. Like Josh Jacobs, like he was hitting them. Like he was probably our best. Like that was our best return I'd ever seen all year. That he fumbled it. So like I like the idea of using running backs more. I'd be interested to see kind of if they do take a running back that has that experience, so that way they can do that. Because I know they ran Emmanuel Wilson a couple times back there too.
They did.
The guy
Yeah,
who we were
you
talking
wanna
about before,
run us through the tight end?
the tight end, man. I like Jack Veiling. Like I do. He's just a fun guy to watch. Like I did watch some of his tape. Again, Michigan State is not something that you watch a lot of football at all. And he's just one of those guys where he's fun to watch. I mean, he's 6'4", 244. He did play at Oregon State from 22 to 23. He actually was second team All Pac-12 in 2023 too, and he was third team All Big Ten this year. So there's some pedigree despite going to a bit of a poverty program, to say the least, this year. And this is another thing too. The Packers, Matt LaFleur specifically, has this weird obsession with wanting to make inline, like these receiving tight ends work. I don't know why that is. Like
True.
he has to have a Luke Musgrave. He has to have a Jimmy Graham.
No, he needs someone to like
And I
block and lay their lives on the line on the line of scrimmage, and then do the receiving stuff.
yeah,
So they
and that's
need to
not
Oscar
exactly what Luke Musgrave or Jimmy Graham are. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. But like I get why. I understand the Jack Veiling thing because Jack Veiling actually stays on his feet. Sorry, Luke Musgrave. And I don't know. There were trade rumors with Luke Musgrave. I don't know what's going to happen there. I see like Jack Veiling as basically a Luke Musgrave 2.0, but at a proper level. And ironically, Jack Veiling did go to Oregon State too. So a little bit of irony there in that. I think that Jack Veiling could, in essence, come in, be that receiving tight end right away, but as you kind of give him a year behind, like Luke Musgrave, because you're probably not going to re-sign Luke Musgrave because you're paying Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
And I believe this is Luke Musgrave's final
They
year,
might
right?
move off from him in the offseason.
If they trade him, they could trade him.
But
yeah.
if not, it's his final
That
year.
very much could be a possible. Yeah, you could trade him at the deadline too. Like if you draft, like, so let's say you do draft Jack Veiling, Tucker Kraft, I'm expecting to be back given his ACL, given when he got hurt, to be ready for the regular season. I don't think that's unreasonable given when he did get hurt because it was well before Micah Parsons. You would have, my guess is Wiley's back, Kraft, Wiley, Musgrave, and they pull in Jack Veiling. If like Jack Veiling, I think is actually projected to be like a 7th round pick, maybe even like a priority UDFA type of signing. Like you could probably still draft Oscar Delp if you wanted to. Hopefully they do because I like him and so do you. And then you could pull in Jack Veiling and that kind of does make Luke Musgrave expendable. And I'd be comfortable with a room of Kraft, Wiley, Delp, and Jack Veiling there. Like I think that's a really good tight end room.
Yeah, I don't think they take two. So it just depends who's on the board when they want to take one. But like you could get
Well,
Veiling as a UDFA.
this is assuming Veiling
Yeah.
as a UDFA.
I'd be comfortable with
Yeah,
that too.
That's my assumption there with that. I mean, I think the biggest takeaways from the scouting here are going to be, I mean, O-line. They're looking at centers. I'd like, if the Packers leave the NFL draft without a center, I'm going to have a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Yeah, me too.
Especially given just how much they've looked at Trey Zune. They've looked at Matt Gublin. They've looked at Pat Coogan. They've looked at Nick Dawkins. I mean, that's 4 centers right there that they've spent time at. Running back, it's a possibility. I think it's a possibility, like you said, that they could take somebody day 3. I mean, day 2 would be a shocker, just kind of given the fact that they have a second and a
You
third.
would need to spend premium,
On
or
day
you need
2.
to spend premium like capital
Yeah.
on other positions of need, where the board is a little
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, the board must have gotten pretty messed up if the Packers are drafting a running back on
Mhm.
day 2. It is going to be interesting here, but like I think the biggest takeaway, like I said, is the Packers are going to draft a center. People can stop talking about Elton Jenkins, who's expected to be cut, by the way. And I think people can stop with the expectation of them wanting to bring back Sean Ryan. Also, I think it's pretty telling of what they think about Jacob Monk now, too, kind of based on how much research it seems like they're doing on these centers. I think the Packers, one of the biggest takeaways, like I said, from the scouting is that the Packers are going to draft an offense, at least a swing tackle and a center. So I expect 2 offensive linemen for the Packers in this draft, and everything else, the other 5 picks, maybe 1 tight end, the other 5 picks, I think should be spent on defense. You think it's a pretty good assessment there? 5 out of our 8 picks on defense.
Yeah, that's what we've said for a month and a half now, at least, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of draft picks here, the NFL Combine is going on. So as we kind of get into Friday's episode here, I think we're going to actually talk about corners finally, because we need to talk about corners.
Okay.
Because we haven't talked about them enough already. Talked about defensive linemen, but next episode, come back. It's corner time. Till next time.
To Packers fans coast to coast, thanks for going beyond the frozen tundra. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, go Pack Go!